Hello and welcome to the year of being 70. I'm Lucy Macara. I am in Norfolk in the UK and I'm with my very old, I say that in both
Very old.
I say that in both senses of the word. Friend Lisette Schoutemaker, who we've known each other since we were 7 or 8, and we both turned 70 last year within a month of each other. So we have been talking on a weekly basis to unpick and have a look at our lives and where we are now at the ripe old age of 70 and now in 2025. And this is episode 18.
Yes, and I'm Lisette Schoutemaker. I'm in Amsterdam because I'm Dutch. And also, I realize I'm coming up to 70 and a half this
Ooh.
month.
Gosh, is it that? Yes. Gosh, time flies, doesn't it?
Time flies, yes.
So,
So, what are we going to talk about this time, Lucy?
well, I'm going to blame this on you, this one. You had the
Okay.
you had the idea of talking about three things we were each proud of, and we haven't told each other what they are. So this is going to be a revelation to both of us. So, Lisette, I'm going to ask you to go first.
Well, I'll start with something I did today. So, I try to be proud of myself on a daily basis. And so this morning I actually went to the gym. And my trainer wasn't there. So usually I have an appointment to go. And now I went all by myself and I worked on these machines, to strengthen my muscles. And I think part of being 70 or getting older is fitness, and staying fit is part of my job, actually, part of my work to stay strong. And I'm really proud because I'm not naturally inclined. I'm naturally inclined to sit in the sun with a book or to work. So I'm really proud I did that this morning. So that's an easy one,
Yes,
Lucy.
that was a good one. Yes, I haven't got one like that. I can't say that I'm particularly proud of my fitness levels, although I completely agree that we do need to do that. I mean, I do have dogs and I walk them every day, and my daughter has a horse, and I help her with, things like clearing out fields and heavy wheelbarrows and carrying bales of hay and things like that. So I feel I'm not completely sedentary, but I wouldn't say that was one of the things that I'm most proud of. But but yes, you inspire me. I think the yes, it's a good idea for us to inspire each other with these things. So okay, my turn. Well, I'm going to go with something that, as a mother, I probably have to do in a way. I mean, I can't not be proud of my children. But I don't want to talk about this in a sort of self-serving way, which is kind of like, oh, look at me, I'm a wonderful mother, so my children have turned out so well. I just want to pick one thing, particularly from my sons, which I take no credit for at all. And that is, both of them are now in their early 40s. Both of them have two children. They have lovely partners. Both of them take at least 50% of the childcare, domestic workload, emotional workload that goes on in families. And it's never been anything but this is how it will be for both of them. There has never been a complaint about it or a thought that it could be otherwise. And I take no credit for that because I didn't role model that for them at all. Despite being the feminist I claim to be, and this is why I'm so proud of them for being those men. I didn't role model it. I haven't role modeled it in either marriage. I still do. I've I think I've done most of the childcare, well, over 50% of it, let's say. And I certainly have and still do most of the domestic work. I mean, there kind of are reasons for it. But I haven't done that. I suppose the only thing I can take credit for in this, and I think may have had something to do with it, perhaps, is that when they were 13 and 11, their father and I got divorced, and they spent a week with one, a week with the other for years. And I give all credit to Rob for this because he did absolutely did his share when they were with him. He did everything for them. They never came back with dirty washing or undone homework or, anything that was kind of left for me as the woman to do. So we did, I suppose, do it 50-50 in that sense. And maybe that was part of it, but maybe it was just part of the way they have grown and developed as young men. I mean, the thing is, I don't see all their friends behaving like that. So it's not like it's just, okay, it's that generation, they do it. It's the way they are. They're not, there are plenty of men their age, I think, who still expect women to do their partners, to do most of that unpaid domestic work. And I love the way that my boys, as I still call them, still think of them, are
Yeah.
just fantastic fathers and would, have their children are growing up with such benefits from having both parents fully involved with their lives. So I'm proud of them, but I take no I claim no kind of what's the word?
Credit for it.
Credit
Yeah.
for it. That's it. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I met them at your birthday, both of them. And Lucy, I must say, really, really kind, interesting men who clearly were very loving towards their children. I
Yeah.
could see that, and I understand that, when these persons have come out of you, you're kind of proud.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And they both have fantastic careers and are brilliant at what they do, and so do their partners. So that's,
Yeah.
that's wonderful too. So yes, I mean that's not to say I'm not proud of my daughters, but for different things. But
Yeah.
I'll leave it
I
at that for
always
the
found
moment.
it a hugely complicated thing for parents to be proud, or for my parents, let me say, that for my parents to be proud of me, because a lot of it was they were proud because I was pretty. And I was like, what does that mean? That's just nothing. You want me to look good. They were proud because I got good marks. But I thought, yes, I'm born with a certain intelligence. What does that, why? I always thought well, not always, let me not. I mean, as a child, I often felt awkward with this pride thing.
Yes, I completely
Parents.
agree. And thinking about it, because we sort of mentioned it as something we talk about this week, so I've been mulling it over in the week in between. And I don't feel like I should be proud of things that I was born with or born into or had the luck to either inherit or live with. I don't feel that's something I should be proud of in that sense,
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah.
So yes, no, I agree. I mean, I read my father's a bit of my father's autobiography I mean, comparatively recent. I was just flicking through it for some reason, and I saw at the beginning when he described his children, I can't remember what he said. Roger is a I don't know, he said Roger's a very good artist. Mark is, I don't know, very clever. Anyway, he talked about, he just mentioned briefly their sort of intellectual attributes. He said, Lucy is small and very pretty. I mean,
Oh, wow.
I know. I
Well,
mean, I
that's
do
what I
actually
mean.
think,
That's what I mean. How sometimes this whole I'm proud of you thing can be very difficult between parents and children.
yeah. I mean, I
Think the thing you're proud of in your boys is beautiful. They're really wonderful young men.
oh, thank
And and also for, you saying you take no credit in it. It's kind of came out of them. Yeah.
Yes, well, they're yeah. Anyway, they're totally individual people and very different to each other. But this is something they have both naturally done, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what is your next?
Well, the thing I'm actually most proud of is is how I turned out from the kind of shy, awkward uh, little girl that I was. And I'm also immensely proud, and I say I mentioned this before, for having broken off my engagement and kind of left the path that I was uh, that I was on because I thought it was inevitable. You had to marry and have children. And so I'm really proud of having found my own life and still continue to evolve the life that wants to be lived through this prism, so to say.
Yes, I really admire you for that as well. I think you have done that in a conscious and active way far more than I have. You've really chosen paths and gone down them in kind of opposition to, I mean, not, serious opposition, but in a different direction to things that were indicated for you, your family. And I think you've really made those choices and also educated yourself. You've done courses, you've done programs, you've learnt things, you have really taken yourself through different processes in order to achieve what you feel or have felt was was necessary to you, was lying there waiting in wait for you. And I thoroughly admire you for that. I mean, I feel that,
So sweet.
my life and career have just been a series of, oh, okay, this is next. This is an opportunity. Okay, I'll take that and try it out and give it a go. And I haven't had that. No, I mean, really,
Well, I've done it like that too, but I have just had to because I always wonder, is it a choice or is it because the path you're on makes you unhappy? You just have no choice but to go and find another path, which,
yes.
I didn't know was there and it wasn't as common as it is now. And people aren't so aware of it. I mean, I have friends when I speak to them about, when did you decide to have children? I never thought about it. I just had them. Like, I cannot imagine that. But that's just how it works inside me.
Yes, yes. No, no, it's true. I mean, and you really have stood against the tide because although more and more people are living childless lives now, for example, you chose to do that and you knew that you wanted to do that from a really pretty early age and you stood by that. And that's I think that's highly
Yeah.
commendable and great. So yes, I mean I agree. I think I get caught up in projects too that I think I must do, and that I mean there've been a couple of things that I have felt were I'm not fate or preordained, but somehow I was here to do. And one of those is writing fiction. And I still feel that of all, and it's the thing of all my worky type things, it's actually the thing I've done least, partly because I've been least successful at it. And it hasn't, it hasn't provided me with a living. And perhaps it would have done if I'd actually concentrated on it more and not kind of got sidetracked. But I still feel that I must do it, that if I haven't done it by the end of my life, if I haven't written more fiction by the end of my life or my end of my my brain power, then I will have not fulfilled something I'm here to do.
Mhm.
And
And are you writing now?
I am, yes, I am. At the moment, I'm in 1964, reliving my childhood with a family who is not my family, but live in the house that I used to, and have a very different story to me. So yes, I am. I've probably written about 30,000 words now, so it's coming on
Wow.
third of the way through because novels are generally 90,000 words. So, and honestly, I have no idea whether it's complete rubbish or really quite good. But I'm enjoying it at the moment, so I'll wait till I get a bit further before I
Great.
ask anyone else's opinion of what
Great.
they think. But yes, I am very happy because I said to myself, this year you are going to write again. And I actually have managed to do it in kind of cracks and crevices between other work. So
So is
yes,
that the
quite proud of
second
that
thing
actually.
that you're most proud of?
So what? Sorry, what did you
Is
say?
that the second thing that you're most proud of?
Well, that wasn't what I planned to say, but yes, in a way, it is. I am proud of that, yes, and I will be more proud of it if I get to the end of this decade that we're in, and I have written three or four novels. I would like to be able to have done that, and got them published as well.
Yeah.
That will be a fulfillment for me.
Yeah.
And I'd be proud of that. But what about you and your books? Because we're both authors. So let me ask you which book you are most proud of so far.
Yeah, so that's really difficult because every book is a part of me and is a thing that I learned and that I am, yeah, somehow. And the book that is mentioned most often, and that is the one that sells best, is The Eldest Daughter Effect.
Right.
Really, I come across people. I met a young woman on Friday, wonderful young woman who is, thinking so much about how we can, uh, um, yeah, help nature and be in a reciprocal, is that the
Yeah.
word? Relationship with nature. And she held a talk, and later we got to talk. And then it turned out, she's an eldest, and she's read my book, and it really was helpful to her. So that is wonderful.
Yes.
And I actually have two books here that I think
Ah,
one is the one I started with. And So the childhood conclusions fix is really my rendition of what I learned at a healing school and my kind of simplification of the work of Wilhelm Reich. And then the other one, of course, is, what I talked about, the childless living is kind of my um sometimes a Dutch word comes and then I have to wait a while until the English comes. My research into how was it that I, as you said, kind of stood up against the tide or didn't move with the tide, but kind of took a different route. How that work in my day and age? What other women were there who did that before me? And I wrote it in kind of spring, summer, fall, winter of our lives, whereas, in spring we're kind of all together, and then some people have children. But in summer, my experience was so many people have children. I was alone, more or less alone on that road, and I had to find new friends. And how do you do that? But also, the research that led towards the pill and towards women's independence and decision on their own life, and not just being, the mother of 17 and and that being the thing. And
yeah.
also for later in life, how what and it's interesting that I talk about women because when I first had the idea, I had a whole list of women without children, and then only a week later, I thought, oh, there's also men without children. For them,
Yes,
it is
indeed.
also a path. For them, it's also a decision. And
Yeah.
of course, it's different when you can't have children and you would want to. That's a very, very different life experience than when you are not really interested or you don't really want it. And then, many people are kind of in between. When it happens, it's great. And when it doesn't happen, that's also, they live a life differently, but that's also good.
Yes, that's so interesting that the eldest daughter effect is your most successful, if you like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and certainly, I mean, that is definitely a book that changed my life, and you should be absolutely proud of it because it's a fantastic book. It really showed me that showed me that I'm a lot like a lot of other people, a lot of eldest daughters, and that I'm not just a bit weird in some ways. We're all a bit weird because of where we fall in our family and the responsibilities we take on and all the things that we've talked about. And it really was very, very helpful to me to see things through that prism. So
Yeah.
I absolutely do that. And of course, Childless Living is a very interesting book and looks, I mean, I can imagine that it doesn't sell as well, perhaps, as the eldest daughter effect, because there are probably more eldest daughters than there are women or men,
Well,
perhaps
one
who've
in
chosen to have
five,
children.
one in five in the Netherlands, women above the age of 40, have no children.
Oh,
And
it's
it's
yeah,
growing. And in
yes,
Belgium,
it is
it's one in
growing.
four. In Ireland, it's one in four. And yeah, it's growing, but
No,
it's
it's
not
definitely growing.
so
Yeah.
um
Well, perhaps the book will just go on selling better and better as more younger women decide to take that
yeah.
path.
And there's also kind of in the US, there's a difference between childless and child-free. Like childless is when you would have wanted to, and it hasn't
Right.
happened. And child-free is where you go like, I never wanted this, and this is my child-free life, a bit more
Yeah.
middle. And I wasn't really aware of that when we picked the title actually, that it was yeah,
Would
that's
you change the title if you did another edition or something, or not?
I would think the title would be Children No, Happy? Yes. That would be my
Yeah, yes. No, no, that's great. I think the happiest couples I know are the childless couples. Really?
Really?
Yeah. I think I think having children is enormously disruptive to a relationship. Yeah,
Mm.
without a doubt, especially perhaps more. Ooh, I'm going to say sort of old-fashioned relationships, people of an older, I mean, of our older generation, as if there are loads of much older people than us. But I do feel that kind of in counterpart to what I was saying about my sons, that in a way, often a man in a male and female relationship has the role of the child, that often he is indulged, he is looked after, he is made the king of the relationship. I mean, it's
Oh, wow.
subtle, and so when children come along, that he is displaced, or if it is that kind of relationship, when and how women often go along with their husbands' careers rather than their own. And I say often, I mean, again, I'm probably talking about older generations. I mean, certainly I would say our
Yeah.
parents did that. Um, but then the mother will often concentrate and have stronger relationships, particularly with their first child, and suddenly there's a sort of displacement in the relationship, which may have really long-term effects.
Yeah, what strikes me with younger people now, and that's people, women in their 50s and their 40s, and men too, is how much they enjoy their children, how much they speak about, oh, we're going on a holiday, we'll be together with the whole family for 3 weeks. Oh, and I kind of never really got that. I was talking with that about this with Jos yesterday. He said, well, our parents didn't really voice that. But my
No.
parents would, when we were in our 20s, come up with these exotic destinations that we kind of couldn't say no to. So they obviously, wanted us to be all together. But, they'd never really say how much they enjoyed that. But I love how younger people, younger than us,
Yeah, yeah.
these days really, and men and women say, how much they look forward to being with their children for a week.
Yeah, yes. No, no, that is interesting. I do
And to
think,
many people, I think that their children are their favorite people in the world.
yeah, yeah. Well, I would say that. I would say that. I don't necessarily go on holiday with them, but
No, yeah, yeah, yeah. But your children are your favorite people in the world.
yeah, yeah, they are. I mean, I hesitate to say that because, of course, there's Richard, who's also my favorite person in the world, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't. But
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, that's the partner, but otherwise, yeah, there's no people they would rather be with than with their children. And of course, that's not true for all families. There's lots of
no, no, no.
stress and
Indeed, yeah,
bad words between people. But it's interesting you're talking about, the the husband is like the child and then gets displaced.
it can be, or
Yeah,
maybe it happens the other way around. I don't know. Not. I think it's where the mother becomes the primary carer.
yeah,
That is the
yeah.
when it becomes more problematic.
Well, also, I think my parents lived in such different worlds. My
Yes,
father was kind of the businessman, was out there, and my mother was with the children. So then, how do you find your conversation? Uh,
yes.
but yeah,
But actually, I think just having children is, I mean, your first child is such a shock to the system, to the partnership relationship you have. It is so disruptive and changes, instead of focusing on each other and your joint things and having time to yourselves and all that sort of life that you've been living up to then, suddenly you both, or one or both of you, have to focus on demands that have to be met by somebody else, and it does change things, and nobody can tell you what that's going to be like. And I think in many ways you're very wise to have seen that and avoided it.
Yeah. Yeah, and wise or not, I'm proud of it because this is my life and
Yeah.
I have stood for myself. And yeah, I'm proud of the young woman I was because that is now, 45 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
40
mean,
years ago.
you had a lot to go through. You've talked about your depression and
Yeah.
your feeling that you didn't fit in with your family or your friendship groups and feeling like you were a different person. And you actually had to own that
Yeah.
and make it into a life for yourself that nobody was helping you with.
Yeah. 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 And find new friends.
But you did.
I did. And I'm still finding new friends, actually.
That's brilliant. Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So,
No, I
how
mean,
about you?
I'm rather proud of just being 70, actually. I,
Oh,
I, I kind of, I don't know if I dreaded it. I did worry that people would sort of think, God, 70, that is really old. You are, you're over the hill. You won't be able to do this or that. We won't want to work with you anymore. But nobody has, nobody said that to me. And I actually feel, wow, I have lived through this long period. And I think having our conversations helps, give a kind of perspective to it and makes me see that we've gone through a lot. We've adapted, we've changed, and I think we're both comfortable in our skin now, perhaps more so than at any other time. And it's an achievement. And I'm quite proud of that, really, for some reason.
hmm. Oh, good. Just let's feel good about ourselves being 70. But is there also a book that you're most proud of?
Yeah, yes, I think if I was going to pick one of my books, actually, it would be this one, which is called A Book of One's Own.
A
And
book
it
of
was a
one's
book
own. Yeah.
that I wrote. It's a book, the subtitle is A Manifesto for Women to Share Their Experience and Make a Difference. And the reason I wrote it was because when I founded the Business Book Awards in 2017, it was quite a scary thing to do because I didn't actually know if anybody was going to want Business Book Awards or enter any books into it, but they did, and it worked out. And I set up a judging panel of very kind of eminent people, business people, writing people, publishing people, and there were 10 in the initial one. There were 10 men and 10 women, and I assumed it would all go very equally. And when we got to the end of the judging process, we had 11 fantastic winners. We had 10 categories and one overall winner. Every single one of them was a white man. Every single winning author was a white man, in some cases, two white men who'd co-authored a book. And
Mhm.
that was just not what I expected, not what I wanted. It was embarrassing. I mean, people of course picked up on that. The lineup on stage for the awards were me in the middle of 11 men in, dinner jackets at the event at the dinner.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I can either just pass it by and say nothing about it and try and do better next time, or I can look and see why this happened and try and do something about it. And I went back and I saw that only half as many books by women had been entered into the awards as books by men. So that was one, that was one thing. And
Yeah.
then as they progressed through the judging process, fewer women were shortlisted and no women actually won. So I thought, well, okay, I need to go out there and I think fewer women are writing their books. So I'm going to go out and bang a drum and try and make more women write their books and share their experience because their voices are needed and valuable in business. So I wrote that book, A Book of One's Own. It was one of those things that came to me like the year of being 70. The title and the concept just popped into my head one morning. And I thought, yes, I'm going to write that. So I did a survey of 50 women authors who had in fact written their books. And I interviewed, I think you were actually one of them, possibly 12
Yeah. That's true.
12 women who in detail, and I asked them about what had held them up, what had how easy they'd found it to write their books, to publish their books, and they all said that they felt they lacked confidence, especially those who were working in areas where men were also writing their books at the same time. For instance, the Key Person of Influence program, which I was mentoring people through. And they said the men all seem incredibly confident about writing their books, and we're terrified. I'm really scared of putting my name out there, putting my thoughts out there. I feel I'll get criticised. I don't feel I have the
I'm an
authority.
imposter.
Yes,
The
exactly,
imposter syndrome thing. I don't know enough. Who am I to do this? Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So all of that. So I wrote the book, which sort of unpacked that, and I used their interviews as a lot of the content, and then I used the book. I mean, I can't say the book was a bestseller. I mean, quite a lot of people have read it, but I gave lots of copies away, and I sort of made it the kind of the centerpiece of a mission, really, to go out and talk on podcasts and give talks, and I started running women-only book writing programs. And it was just lovely. I mean, it was so nice. The women I mean, I think they enjoyed it, not just because they were getting their books done and they felt they were in a safe space, but they actually enjoyed the friendship that came
Yeah.
with these online programs. So, I mean, the upshot of that was 2 years after that, we were getting equal numbers of books by men and women into the Business Book Awards submitted. And women were, and of course, I spoke to the judges as well, and talked about unconscious bias. I don't think anybody was kind of looking for, thinking, oh, well, I must pick a book by a man as the winner. It wasn't like that at all. But I made it a thing. I made the Business Book Awards a platform for diversity and inclusion, and yes, and by another couple of years later, we had got equal numbers of women. In fact, that year we actually had literally the same number of books entered by men, by
Oh,
women, by
interesting.
coincidence. It was a
Interesting.
nice thing to be able to say. So yes, I am proud. I do think, I mean, obviously more women writing their books is not something I achieved on my own, but I do think that
You
that
played a
book
role. And
contributed to
kind
it.
of you took this, you kind of, can be so lovely speaking about me and how I've led my life and taken steps. And then you come out with this because you looked like you had the bit between your teeth and you ran with it. There was something you saw. There was like an injustice you saw.
Yes,
And
yes,
you really thought about it, you researched it, went into it, and then thought, what can I do about it? And you did. And you've really been a force in this. I think it's time you recognize yourself as
oh,
such.
well, thank you. Yes, I mean, I am. When I was thinking about this, I do think that is something I can be proud of. And yeah, and I still have people saying to me, women saying to me, ah, you're the reason, your book is the reason I wrote my book. It made me feel I could do it. So, as you know from when people say that about your books, it is
Yeah,
incredibly heartwarming to
yeah,
feel your words have gone out there, your
yeah,
work gone out there and encouraged and inspired other people.
very much so.
So,
Very much so.
so that's yes, that's
Yeah.
nice. So, have we got anything else we're proud of? Have you got anything
Well,
else
I
on your
can
list?
share something that I'm not so proud of, and then my
Okay, I
practice.
go down that route. Yes, there will probably be a very long program.
No, no, no. But you know, um, in conversations, um, there's this part of me that always wants to tell my story. Oh, but I did this too, and I was there too, and I know that person. And this part of me can be very worked up and believable that it's really true that I should say this. So every time I choose not to go there, but I choose to kind of instead stay with the other person and say, wow, tell me more about this, or what happened as a result of that, or how amazing you did it with that. I go, then I really deepen the conversation instead of, you know, just
Yes.
keeping it on that level. And so that is my practice, and I fail at it, but each time I don't, I go like, oh, oh. And then I'm actually a little proud of myself.
Yes, I think that's a really important lesson to learn, and I think it's one that's kind of become more surfaced in the world in general. I mean, the phrase "it's not all about you" is quite prevalent, and it's so easy to make somebody else's problem about
Yeah.
you and think,
Yeah.
oh, yes, I've experienced that too. Oh, do you want to hear what
Yeah.
happened to me?
Yeah.
And it's like,
Exactly.
no, no,
Exactly.
that is not what they need. They don't want to hear about you. They want to be able to just either offload or possibly, if they ask, maybe give them some advice. But otherwise, it's just about,
Yeah.
as you say, listening, being present, not putting your
But
own.
still, this other part is so
But
strong
yes,
that
yes,
every time I don't do it, I feel a little pride in myself, as if I am, in a way, a parent still educating myself
yeah,
to be kinder, to be more with the other person, but also studying how can I deepen a conversation? How can I really be in contact with a person instead of swapping stories?
yes. And is that something that you have learned from your Reichian psychologies?
Yeah, of course, I've learned in the healing school. But then, of course, when I suddenly have a coach client again, and then I'm kind of in the coachee position, which is different because then it certainly isn't about you. Although it is sometimes helpful to tell a story, and people are really alleviated when you say, "Oh, but I do recognize that." No, you don't. You don't have that. You got to project on this ideal person across from them. Yeah, so I learned it, and also I learned it through the art of hosting, which is short for the art of hosting and harvesting conversations that matter. And I learned it through what we called het ontdekkend gesprek, the discovery, this conversation of discovery in the Center for Human Emergence. Because I think it is an art. Conversation is really an art.
Yes. Yes, I'm sure that's true. Yeah. Yes.
To
Interesting.
start it, to deepen it, to continue, and to, when I had my communications agency, I always instructed the people who worked for me to go interview someone and have them be surprised at what they say. I
Oh,
think the
that's
best
nice. Yeah.
conversations are when we are kind of surprised at what arises between us and what we can say.
Yes, that's a very nice way of describing a good conversation, the surprises that come through, and not just surprises from other people, as you say, but what comes out of you as well.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, that's brilliant. That's interesting because you do kind of one-to-one coaching, don't you? So I don't do that, but I do group mentoring. So in the past, it has been very much about writing books, but it is, I think, a skill that I've developed, and perhaps this is something I'm proud of, is that I'm good at holding together a group of people in an emotional and intellectual way on, I mean, Zoom is my natural habitat, so I do mostly do this on Zoom. But I've now, for the last few years, I've run a women's mastermind of 12 women who go through the year in what we call
What
our,
is a women's mastermind?
yes, no, that's good. I thought that was, so
I don't know what it is.
a mastermind group is usually it's to do with business. You join a group usually for a year, and you either have a program or there's a host usually or a mentor or who runs it.
Yeah.
And I don't like the name mastermind. I would rather call it a muz to mind, but that just gets confusing. So because mostly in the UK, people know what a mastermind group is, and it's sort of about
Okay.
developing your business usually alongside other
I've
things.
never heard of it.
No, no, no,
So
that's really
interesting.
interesting too.
Yeah.
But so
But
yes,
you're a mentor and
I'm
you
yes,
hold the
I'm a
space.
mentor rather than a coach. I've never done any coaching training, but I think I have a an ability to hold groups together sort of so that they and I think it's partly to do with kind of staying out of it myself, but allowing other people to make friendships. I mean, I don't stay out of it completely because of course, like you've said, the kind of ego kind of gets in the way. But I've now called my mastermind group the Mission Mastermind because it turns out, and it's just kind of developed that way, that the work that these wonderful, lovely women do when they're together for 12 months, going on calls, having meetings, and is that they develop their mission. And sometimes it's
Mm.
getting clarity on their lifelong big mission, and sometimes it's just moving into their next phase of life mission. But that's what it comes down to, and that's a very enjoyable part of my world and my work at the moment.
Hmm. I like that. And are these women in a certain age group or can they be any
Well,
age?
interestingly, they probably, I mean, they're not young women with startup businesses. I would say the youngest is possibly late 40s, early 50s, and
Hmm.
then we have go through the range, and there's a one or two people older than me, so that's very it's nice that they're very supportive of each other and the different kind of stages they're at, but they are all successful, really entrepreneurs. They have their own business, or it might be, their coaching business, or whatever they do it as a one person business, or they have a team. But they're successful, and I call the strap line of the Mission Mastermind is from experience to brilliance, and they come as experienced businesswomen into this group to again be in a safe space and to develop, to polish their latest iteration of what they're offering to the world, and that's the brilliance that
Hmm.
they come to by the end of the year.
It's wonderful. It's just like you're looking, it's now spring, very springy here, a lovely week of sun, and you just see, the flowers come and you see them flower. So if you knew what your magic, or if you knew what your secret was of why you're so good at this, what would it be, Lucy?
Honestly, I don't know, Lisette. I don't know the answer
If
to
you
that.
knew, what
If
would
I
it
knew,
be?
that's a real coach's question, isn't it?
Yes, it
When
is.
somebody says, I don't know, you say, but if you knew, what would
If
it?
you knew, what would it be?
I think it's partly to do with intuition. I think I am able to, I can't describe what it is, but I think I am able to sort of intuitively relate to people in a certain close kind of environment that I can't even describe it. I mean, it's probably the same sort of thing that makes you good at being a coach, that you can really empathize with people. You can feel what their challenges might be in an intuitive kind of way without having to know intellectually what they are. And there's some sort of developed skill of being able to help them get to the next phase. I can't put it any more coherently
Hmm.
than that.
No, but that's already something. I think it's also to do with what I would call a field, to create a field of
Yeah,
presence
yeah.
in which there is a certain relaxation, a relaxation of the ego, a relaxation of the stories, and, kind of the true being can kind of bubble up.
Yes, yes, I think when you say a field, I think an energy field. I mean, whatever anybody chooses to interpret that as, but I think, I feel there is an energy within the groups that I run, that is a positive energy, that enables people to, as you say, sort of relax, feel safe, and develop.
Yeah. Yes. And I think what you also do, you're a really good listener. And you listen to what is being said, but you also listen to what is below that. And then you kind of guide people to go there and go like, go one step deeper. What is so you bring it, always bring it further.
Well, I hope that is the case. Yes, I shall do that as a coach as well.
So how are we in kind of deflecting compliments
No,
or good things being
we're
said
very good at
about us,
that, aren't we?
right? There's this mirror that is immediately held up and then the light is deflected back. But
No, it's quite difficult actually. I mean, being, kind of being open about what you're proud. Well, for me, it's quite difficult being proud of things in a sort of overt way.
yes, and we can go into whether that's you or whether that's being British or whether that's
Yes, all of
the
all of the
kind of
above, I'm sure.
education you've had. And oh, wow, you will kind of go
Yeah,
beyond yourself and think
being
you
a
are a
woman.
woman.
Yeah,
Anyway, all these
all
things.
of those. Well,
I loved speaking about what we're proud of. I
it's
loved hearing what you're proud
lovely.
of, Lucy.
Yes, and I think you have so much to be proud of, and it's been lovely hearing.
Likewise. You too.
Okay, well, before this is
Okay.
too embarrassing, let's say goodbye
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.